Today is July 13th, 2023. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program here at Oklahoma State University. With me are the co-founders of OSU's Pete's Pet Posse, Ann Hargis, former OSU First Cowgirl, and Kendria Cost, longtime employee of OSU and director of the Ann Hargis OSU Center for Pet Therapy. Got that right. We are in the student union on campus, and this interview will focus on the history of Pete's Pet Posse, otherwise known as P3 for short. By way of context, P3 was established in 2013 as part of the university's commitment to being America's healthiest campus and is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. P3 supports the emotional wellness of students, staff, and faculty and has grown beyond the OSU Stillwater campus. While it takes a team to get such an initiative off the ground, the involvement and support of Ann was and continues to be instrumental in its success. Add to that the terrific leadership of Kendria, and you've got a winning combination. Ann and her furry friend Scruff, and Kendria and her furry friend Charlie were also part of the first P3 class back in 2013. With all that said, thank you for sharing your stories with us today. And before we get to the P3, let's learn a little bit about each of you. You can start wherever you like, Ann. Let's begin with you.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. I was born. I think as far as this is concerned, my husband was Burns Hargis. Yes, Burns Hargis was president from March of 2008 until July of 2021. And during that time, Kendria and I met. And we could go back to our history, but Kendria actually was, and we never had a word for it, but my executive assistant for a good 12 years. So it's through Kendria and our work together that the idea came up for the pet therapy program. And it just, now get into the pet therapy program before I get into myself, but that is our friendship and our relationship is long-suffering, long-term friends and co-workers, but with the greatest admiration for, I had the greatest admiration for Kendria. And I just think the heart and soul of this program is because of Kendria.
Well, that's kind of tough to follow, but I would say too that I've been at the university for a long time, and I've been in several positions, and it was an honor for me to work alongside Ann when she was here. And I think with her vision and leadership, we were able to accomplish a lot of things, not only pet therapy related, but really focusing on student engagement and wellness. And I saw her make an incredible difference on campus. So for me, being involved in the pet therapy program even today allows me to continue our working relationship and help us finish what we've started, I believe.
Do you remember when you first met her?
I do. I absolutely do. I was working at the Wellness Center. At the time, I was doing PR and marketing, and Robin Purdy was the director at the time. And when it was announced the Hargises would be on campus, then Robin reached out and invited Ann to come to the Wellness Center and talk about wellness. And I'll never forget her popping in and being her energetic self. And from the moment I met Ann, she was just down to earth and really was one of us. I mean, she was a cowgirl from the very beginning.
And I will say I remember as well because Kendria was working in media for the wellness. And I did teach yoga classes and I did do some classes at the Wellness Center as well. But then I think Robin came up with maybe Kendria, but someone came up with the idea that I write a wellness column once a month or so. And that was through Kendria. So together we would write a column. And I remember reading those going, well, she speaks for me better than I speak for myself. So I've always kind of appreciated Kendria's outlook and her, just the way she expresses my thoughts.
And that would have been back in 08 or 07-ish?
Probably 10-ish. Yeah, probably 8, 9, or 10. Yeah, because it was that would have been in 2009 that we first met,
Okay.
because then we did start working together probably in 2010.
I think we started working together from the very beginning. Robin really wanted to engage Anne in our wellness efforts, and we
Didn't
really
take
started.
much convincing.
Yeah, we started from the beginning, but I think as time went on, we met more often and we did more things and we had bigger dreams. And so it was really, I think, a natural progression
Very
for me to
much.
transition from the Wellness Center into working with Anne. And we had fun. It was a lot of fun.
Still having fun.
Well, I should know this, but I don't. Did either one of you graduate from here?
Neither of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've acquired orange anyway. The love
Oh my
for
word, in a big way.
Right.
I know your husband did, so.
Yes.
That.
He did.
So when did you start at OSU?
Well, it was a long time ago. I just completed my 29th year.
Okay.
So you can do the math. I'm fuzzy on math. She's the math person. But I just completed my 29th year, June the 28th.
Okay. Okay, then let's segue into Pete's Pet Posse. Take us back to 10 years ago and the conversation that started all of this.
I think we had conversations about various programs that we were interested in. And as luck would have it, I have a friend in Oklahoma City who at the time had a standard size black poodle, very fuzzy headed, named Rossi, after Diana Ross. And I invited Susan to bring her dog to campus. And I've got to correct myself. And so we just had Rossi come and go to like 3 different locations on campus one day. And we marveled at the reaction of people just seeing a dog on campus, and the people that came out of their offices and the students that squealed. And we couldn't go from point A to B without being stopped. And then just to see the reaction of the various people, we looked at each other and said, we need to have Rossi come 3 or 4 times a year. This is fabulous. And then I think we looked at each other and said, why don't we just do this ourselves? And little did we know that we got the notion, and we started a class of 8 dogs and their owner handlers. And that's how the program starts, with teams of people. So we had no idea why we were doing it. We just thought it'd be a good idea. And because of the squeals and the happiness and just making everybody feel good. And that is how it started. But little did we know the depth and the value that these dogs bring to a university environment.
I can imagine you didn't think, 10 years from then that you'd be
At all. I don't think we were thinking that much in the future, because we were just trying to define what we were doing and define the program and the parameters of the program, because you can't be all things to all people. So early on, we decided how we define ourselves, which I would let Kendria speak on.
Okay.
Well, we actually, I think the first step was deciding on an advisory board, because we wanted to make sure that there was buy-in from key constituents on campus. So university counseling, residential life, the vet school. And it did take about a year really to put all of those parameters together. Legal counsel was obviously
Huge.
a very big player because of the liability. And the other issue is that it's a program that had never been done before. So we did not have another program to model ourselves after. It's not like we could look at this university or that university. So we really did create it from scratch. And you're right, I don't think we were looking 10 years ahead. It was the here and the now, knowing that the dogs could make a difference. So we started with that advisory board. We hand selected those 8 teams. And I don't think the teams really understood what they were getting ready to go through. I don't think we understood it really, because I look back and I think, how did we do all of that? How did that work? And how were we able to navigate everything that we had to navigate?
And I want to just interject into what I think is unique about the program, because I didn't realize at the time that the program is designed around the well-being of departments. So the teams actually are from families of employees of OSU. And therefore, the department head okays the fact that the dog will be accepted in that department. So that means everybody in the department has a buy-in. And you've got to be open and willing to have the dog and the employee with the dog. But then each department gets to decide how that dog is used in that department. So I think people misunderstand, because most of my friends think the program is all about having dogs walking campus and in the library and in the student union. But it's actually bigger than that, because they serve a purpose at the discretion of the department that they serve in. And you don't have to be the employee. Like in my case, I was not employed by OSU, but my husband was an employee. So Scruff came from an employee's home, and therefore he and I were in the program. So you will have some professors, some deans, you'll have spouses. We even had a mother of an employee who had a dog in the program. So you've got combinations that are hard to define. And I don't think I understood that when we started the program. I just thought one person, one dog, off we go.
Right, because I think by program design, the dogs serve in their offices first as a wellness benefit. And so we're actually harnessing our own resources in the form of faculty and staff to provide the wellness benefit back to the university. So what it takes from us is time, energy, and effort, but the return has been incredibly great. So after the dogs serve in their offices, or while serving in their offices, we do special appearances upon request. So we have a whole series of appearances that are public. Anybody is invited with the library 3 days a week, residence halls, and then we have a whole series that we consider private events. So that may be campus tours, that may be new student orientations, sororities, fraternities, any particular group that we serve on campus, or maybe there's a conference on campus that has requested us to attend. So it's grown really beyond our wildest imagination, I think.
Have you had to say no?
For the first time ever last year, we did. Before classes started in fall of 2022, we had over 200 visits scheduled just for the fall. And so at that point in time, we started, it was like a puzzle really, pulling dogs from here, putting them over here, asking if we could move an event to the spring instead of the fall. And there were a few times we did have to say no, we just didn't have the resources to serve. And that didn't feel good, but at the same time, what a problem to have, right?
You also run into our parameters. You may have someone request that you have a team of dogs come to their children's school. And because we have defined ourselves as an OSU wellness group, we have to have boundaries. And we have to say no to some things that just are outside our parameters. But at the same time, we had people who lived in Stillwater who wanted to go through our program once they heard about it. And we couldn't start training other people's teams. So a group was established in the city of Stillwater. And now it makes us feel better when someone comes with a request that we can't fill. We can say, but you can call and get that satisfied in Stillwater itself. So that's another outgrowth of the program itself. And the other thing is, because we're for employees, the students are not part of the program with a dog. Because again, the training is so extensive, it takes so long that students are graduated and gone before they really can enjoy the program. But because students wanted to be a part of it in 2015, I believe after we've been established about 2 years, we realized the value that students bring to this too. So we established the student organization, which is called the Rough Riders. And they have just enhanced our value. So I think that's what's happening is new things come along, new thoughts come along, and it makes the program bigger and better all along. So students are ambassadors. They have a second set of eyes and ears. They hear things we don't hear. They take care of the dogs. They bring water for the dogs, because when we're on a visit, we are on a 2-foot leash, paying attention to our dogs. And you certainly will. And so students, again, help us do our job better. And then they hear things that we don't hear, see things we don't see. And they do traffic control. And, so it's a win-win for everybody.
It's a lot of organization. It sounds like you have this big spreadsheet.
Incredible. Incredible with the advisory board, with research. And so we're sort of skipping ahead. We're telling about what's going on today as opposed to how we got here gradually. But so many of the things that we did not think about in that first year of the pilot program come to us because of opportunities. And so that's how we've been able to, there's something we can do and grow with that.
How did you land on 8 teams to begin with?
I think that's what we could find, honestly. I think, and we knew it needed to be somewhat small, and we needed to lay a solid foundation. And because we really didn't know what to expect. I mean, we're training the dogs, we're getting prepared, we're being certified, and then what do we do? Right? What does that look like? So I think that was a good number to start with.
And the fact that we called it a pilot program, that we didn't have rules written. We had the advisory committee, but we didn't know what to expect of each other or of the animals. So it was all pilot. We just put one foot in front of the other, and before you knew it, the demand was there.
How many are there today, roughly?
83. System-wide. 83 teams system-wide.
Is that going to be the max, or you don't know yet?
I don't think it will be the max.
I don't either.
The demand is just so great, and we can only train in Stillwater 10 teams a year. The training is very specialized. That's not to say that the board may not decide in the future that we'll put 2 classes through, but we're very intentional about the selection of teams as well. It's really important. When people apply, the person goes through an interview process with a subset of our governing board, and then the dog goes through a disposition evaluation with our trainer, and then a physical exam with our program veterinarian. And so when we meet as a board to select teams, all 3 of those entities report. And sometimes the person is a fit and the dog just is not, and sometimes the dog is a fit but the person may not be. So it's really important for the integrity of the program to make sure we're putting the appropriate teams out there who can serve, who have the time to serve, and who understand boundaries. We run into a lot of things when we're on campus, and we never know.
Try to select for success as well. So I remember thinking we had a dog, was one of my favorite dogs, and I loved the department and everything about it. But the dog was great with the owner, but so nervous around other people. And in the disposition, it was stated, it's not fair to the dog. So you're setting the dog up to be a failure, which you don't want to do because that's not what it's all about. So it's hard to say no, but I will also say the process of application to selection is about 3 months. Isn't it? By the time you do imagine making appointments with a vet we had like 47, 48 people apply last year. It's a lot of dogs and people to schedule through the vet school just to see that they're well. I mean, that's just one part of it. So try to do that with 48 people when you have volunteers and fitting in their busy schedule. So I don't think people understand how extensive the vetting process just to get a class is. And then the fun begins.
Right. Meaning what?
Well, I mean, the training itself. And I think we convince people as they apply that this is not just to bring your dog to work program. There's a lot involved. They're actually certified through 2 national certifications. And so they've got to go through this rigorous training. It's a time commitment, and it's also a growing experience because we're training the adult as much as we're training the dog when you think about it. So everybody's learning right now. And some of us today probably wouldn't pass if we were going through it. No names mentioned, but some of us might have a hard time.
Yeah. It is a shift in your thought process when you're going from having a dog at home that you love and adore, and then you are preparing that dog and yourself to serve others through pet therapy. So it is more relationship based. There is an obedience component, but we're really teaching obedience as well as having a relationship with your dog and understanding what are the signs of stress and what environment does my dog excel in. Is it a loud environment? Do they like a lot of activity? Is it more quiet? So we're teaching a lot of things, and it's a lot to absorb when you don't have a frame of reference. It's exhausting work. I will tell you, it's exhausting.
But I think, again, to me, that may be one of the successes of the program is that there are a variety of opportunities. And so it's not like every dog has got to go to the library. There's plenty of room for dogs to do different things because, of course, we have loud parades with Pistol Pete firing off his gun. Anything from that to a very calm environment where it's just a very few students. So you've got the whole gamut, and you can find teams that are comfortable one way or another. And we do say to the teams, this may be loud and boisterous, so we'll let you know if it's not going to fit your dog's needs ahead of time, so you don't sign up for it. And then the other thing we have learned is these dogs take on the emotions of everyone they're around. So most of our dogs have about a good hour of therapy work in them. After that, they're totally exhausted because they take on the emotional needs of other people. And so we have trained our teams to recognize when the dog has had enough. And if it's sooner than an hour, you just have to say, excuse me, he's telling me we need to go. So there are other dogs that can last for hours, but that's why we have the variety we have.
Have you found that one breed's better than the other?
Of course, so many are rescues. They're mixed breeds, but we don't think so. We think we just look at the dogs individually.
Personalities.
And we're not experts, but we tap into other experts. We kind of listen to our other experts evaluate. I'll also say part of the program is we are not counselors, but we are trained in sensing when other people need to go to counseling. And we have tools for giving them counseling opportunities and or physically walking with them to get help, which has happened.
Right. It's a component I don't think, again, that we thought of when we were creating the program, but we have adjusted the program to fit what we experience each year. And each summer we sit down and we look at what happened each year and we say, okay, we need to put this in place or we need to put this in place. But we are mindful of students who need a little more help than what we can provide. And if we are doing our jobs correctly as handlers, we're listening to students who are they think they're telling our dog things, so they will open up and really share a lot of information. But we should be listening and providing resources as appropriate. So that's part of our training process. And we do offer continuing education units throughout the year for our owners and handlers. So we do a series on identifying signs of stress in students, self-care, which is important because a lot of people who do this type of work are very service-oriented and maybe are not so good about taking care of themselves. So we stress that component. And then we do a series of just fun topics for dog owners. And so we try to spread that out and make it a little fun.
Well, of the original 8, I know these were 2. Are
Yes.
any of the other ones still
There's one more.
with us? Yeah.
There's one more.
So
It's hard to say
Disco.
goodbye to those who aren't right now.
Yeah.
Very, very.
Yeah, Disco is still serving. Zipper is still alive,
Alive,
but
yeah.
has retired from the program.
Right.
So do they have to reapply every year? So they can choose when it's time for them to step aside and let someone else.
Yeah. The dog will tell you what times.
It's a very big investment of time, both for the program and for the individual. And it's a financial investment for the program too, in terms of gear, trading cards are a huge thing that the students collect. So we will allow them to serve as long as their dog is able and as long as they feel comfortable serving. And we look a little bit at longevity too. That's one of the reasons why undergraduate students are not eligible to apply. That in addition to just the things that we sometimes encounter on campus that maybe take a little bit more maturity and expertise than what an undergraduate student would have.
And also for longevity, all of our dogs have wellness exams yearly. And then they need to also keep their certification current every year. So we're continuously evaluating our dogs, but they don't have to reapply.
Are there certain rules you have to follow? I know you said you had to be 2 feet apart, 3 feet.
2
2 feet apart.
Yeah.
And on a short leash.
On a
Yeah,
very
and I've
short
noticed you always have it.
Yes, he's laying on it, but I have it. I should have it in my hand.
We actually have about 7 pages of program standards and guidelines. And again, part of that is for the safety of the animal. Part of that is for the safety of people around the animal. And because the university actually absorbs the liability for this program, we are very cognizant of that and work closely with legal counsel to identify how we need to represent the program and the university in a very safe manner.
Have other universities requested to see this
Yes.
handbook?
Yes, and they marvel. They say, I do not know how you do it. I will also say that our legal counsel is currently the president of our governing board. So there's probably no one more involved in the program besides Kendria than Brandon. I would say so. Legal is a huge part of questions that come up.
And has that person been the same one all along, or has it
No,
shifted?
No, but been aware of the program. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, her sisters are part of the Rough Riders. So, I mean, it looks like you get families involved, and it just kind of attracts other people doing other jobs. So it's a large volunteer group.
How many Rough Riders are typically there?
About 50 per year. So in terms of number of people involved in the program, if you look at owner handlers, if you look at Rough Riders, if you look at other people who help with the program, we are probably close to around 175 people that we manage, which is bigger than most departments, right?
Yes.
And they're all, the majority of those people are volunteers, which creates an interesting scenario sometimes, right? Because they're not employees, they are volunteers and they are giving of their time.
Are they required to do so many hours a month or visits a month or what?
The owner handlers are required to do a minimum
Of 4 visits per year.
or semester per year.
That's consistent with our national certifying organization, Alliance of Therapy Dogs, and that's there did not used to be any kind of requirement, but we implemented the 4 visit per year about 2 years ago. And that may increase as we have more demand for the dogs.
Well, then if they are required to do that, can they bring them to campus more often?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Sure.
not sign up for particular events?
Sure.
And they do.
Have there been departments that were a little slower to get on board with it? You don't have to say the department, but
Sure.
if there were.
Yeah, I would
Sure.
say we probably aren't aware if the employee did not apply to be part of Pet Posse, then we may not have heard about the department. So we are aware of some places on campus where, and I think that's another beautiful thing about the training of this. We are cognizant of the fact that not all people love dogs. And so we try our best to respect the fact. We have a lot of students who are afraid of dogs or for some reason, just don't care to be around them. And you also have some employees who think that they are they are allergic to dogs. So we know where to avoid those kinds of encounters.
And we do, in the application process, when a person applies, their department head has to sign off. The facilities manager has to sign off. Just you think in terms of dogs who may shed a lot, and they need to be aware that it may create a little bit of extra work for them. And when we interview people, we really talk about their department. Have you had conversations with people in your department? Is anyone hesitant? What do you see your dog doing in your department? So we try to cover all of those bases. There have been some departments who have said we can't have the dog in the department, but you can go do visits on your own. So if it's a team that we really feel would be valuable and is a good fit, we'll admit them to the program, but the expectation for them is they will help with the evening visits and the weekend visits or late afternoon visits where they can take off and go get their dog. So we do try to meet people where they are, but we still have a campus to serve.
If there's two people in one department, does that work? How that works, or do they both get to if the department signs off on them?
As long as they have all of the appropriate signatures, and if both of those dogs and their people are a fit, then perhaps so. But we would also look strategically as a board to see, are there any other departments that we don't have a dog in that maybe are equal to? And at that point, we would select one of the two teams and then select a different department, if that makes sense.
We are at that level. And we might also say that physical building, like we're in the student union, there are several teams in the student union. So we go through, another part of that is making sure the building itself can handle the population and work that out among ourselves. So, I don't know how it works in the student union, but there are respectful reasons that dogs are in certain areas at certain times and not others. Because we are a university, we're not a playground for dogs. But we try to be, and I hope we have been, we try to be considerate of other people and their needs and not force our joy on everybody.
Right.
I know. He's tough. He only has 2 speeds. He does. You see the second speed. You saw the first one earlier.
Over the course of 10 years, has every department been represented? Not yet.
There are too many. How many departments are there on this campus?
I don't know.
Hundreds.
There are
Hundreds and hundreds. But I'm not sure how many departments. We're trying to get those numbers together.
Per building too, though. You get into that.
Yes.
Well, and you think in terms of the student union, early on when Mitch Kilcrease was the director here, we had a conversation and he said, look, I support the program, but I don't even know how many dogs are in my building because the departments don't all report to him. And so we implemented the facilities manager signature at the request of Mitch Kilcrease. So then it came through his facilities area. And then we communicated back with him and we said we had X number of teams from the student union apply. And then we would go back to him after the meeting and say we would like to admit X number of teams in the student union. So we did work very closely with him and we continue that relationship with Tracy Brown today. So we're communicating. She knows after this, after the admission of the teams, how many will be in the union. We kind of poll those teams and say, how many days a week do you think you'll be here? And then we provide that information back to her. So we do try to be considerate and thoughtful.
And then how does it come into play with service dogs versus pet therapy dogs in the same spot? I don't know.
Yeah.
Very good question.
Well, I think, so what we have tried to do is brand our dogs very specifically so people know who we are and what we are doing. So they have the tartan vests that are all custom, their names on the vest, specific collars and leashes. So we encourage people to interact with us and to pet our dogs. A service animal, as you know, is protected by federal law, and they are also performing a task for an individual. So it's really important that we also educate our campus population on the differences, because you can't pet a service dog when they are working. So we are very respectful of service animals and know that they perform a very specific purpose, and we try to keep our dogs separate. That's not to say we don't run into other service dogs across campus, but I think we're very respectful.
Well, speaking of vests, do you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be, the tartan and all of that?
Sure.
Oh, it's a long story, but this actually is the official OSU tartan plaid registered in Scotland. And in 2010, we had a campus-wide. Do you have an oral history of the tartan plaid? It was a contest, and students designed various tartan plaids using the OSU official colors. So then it was an online was sort of new, the way to use online was sort of new then. But people who had a connection with OSU then voted this was the design that won and is the official tartan plaid. So we've kind of adopted it as our way of labeling our animals. And this particular piece of fabric is the size of the tartan plaid we needed, but we couldn't find the material itself. So these are actually umbrellas that another volunteer has a stash of umbrellas. And when we have vests made, she cuts up umbrellas. She makes this part of it. So,
and it's got a zipper for treats on the
for sure. That's for all of his trading cards.
Trading cards.
And his certification, in case anybody asks whether he's certified or not, he carries his ID in his vest. And if he needed to, I guess he could carry a toothbrush and comb.
Yeah, the vest is a process though, because you have the person that cuts out the tartan and then they send it to a dog vest making company, and then they assemble those, and then they send the assembled vest to me, and then I take it to the monogrammer to have everything else put on it. So it is a process, and we are really the first class of training. We're getting measurements and we're starting that process so they can be done by the time we need them in June.
And they can't gain any weight.
Well,
they are a little adjustable. They have a little give to them, but I think we're real proud of our.
Yeah.
Has that been since the very beginning, or did it come along a couple of years into the program?
It came along when we had solid orange vests at first with the 8 dogs, but then we noticed there were other dogs on campus that had solid orange vests too. So that's when we realized we had a need for branding our own dogs, and it grew out of that. And oh, by the way, there was an umbrella in the student union store, and I think an idea came, and Edith ran with it.
Well, then how about the cards that you pulled out? Oh, how did that come about?
Happen?
Yeah, how did that come about?
Where did that's our Kendria's idea?
Well, I think we were looking in terms of student engagement, and we thought, well, it'd be kind of fun for the dogs to have almost like little baseball cards. And so we just created them, and it
Lo and behold.
took off.
Yeah.
And students
It's
collect
maybe running
them.
the program now.
Yeah, it is. And so they've been very popular for a long time. But in honor of our 10-year anniversary, we created special limited edition 10-year trading cards. And we are placing orders almost every week to replenish, not for every team, but students are collecting those. Faculty and staff are collecting those. I talked to someone today who just moved offices. She's staff. And she said, well, the first thing I did is I put all my trading cards up. And I've got the old trading cards and I've got the new trading cards. So I think it's really almost a game to see how many you can collect. And then for this year, we had a group of Rough Riders that put together a card collection prize program. So if students or anybody bring in 15 cards, we give them a special limited edition 10-year button. If they bring in 30 cards, they get a special edition Joe's Cup with our logo on it. And if they collect all the cards on campus last spring, which I think ended up being about 40, they get a replication set of the original 8 dogs, the original cards that we handed out in 2000. I think we started those in 2014. So it's become
it's
huge.
It is huge. Yeah, I was talking with part of the custodial staff on the elevator. They collect. So again, that's one thing about the program. I'll say that everybody wins. I mean, the owner handlers feel so much better. It gives us a reason to be on campus. It's kind of odd, but you can walk campus and people kind of look at you. If they look at you like, "What are you doing here?" But you have a dog. It's all of a sudden you've got a purpose for being here. But the dogs feel better. The people you can help feel better. And when you think about it, we're all here for the student success. And so what makes a student successful but a happy workforce? So if you can elevate your staff, your faculty, and everybody wins.
We've actually had interviews of potential teams, and during the interview process, they say, "I came to work here because I want to be part of this program." So it really crosses all campus boundaries, all campus barriers. It speaks to so many people on so many levels.
You just have to weed out the ones that just want to bring their dogs to work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not,
and you
not to do the other.
You do through the training. You figure that out, and not even through the training, probably through the interview process. As a matter of fact, very much.
Give it a go for a year and then say, "This isn't what I had in mind."
Well, I mean,
haven't had much of that.
If we feel that that's their motivation for being in the program, we won't admit them because we are busy and we have a purpose and we have students to serve and we have faculty to serve and we have staff to serve, and it doesn't stop. We have really no downtime anymore at all, other than maybe when finals week is over in the fall and we have a little bit of break before we go home for the holidays. It doesn't stop. We do all the new student orientations. We're busy all summer long.
I will say about the interviewing, the application process itself, we have so many outstanding applicants that we leave some really fine teams on the table because we can't train them all. So I guess that's why I say I'm not really sure we have found someone who's been surprised once they get into the program. I think it really happens on the front end. And also we haven't talked about the fact that we're on all these other campuses as well. So we've got teams all over the A&M system, which we never even thought about when we started the program either. So it takes a lot of coordination.
I'm thinking a lot of resources, funding. How
Glad you mentioned that. We are self-funded.
that's thinking you might have to be, but
Yeah, we are. And so again, the dilemma is most people think it's a university program and that we don't need funds. And so to be able to get the word out is a real challenge for us. So we're working on a major celebration, our 10th year, which I think is the first time we've really gone public with the fact that we need funds. So I guess usually we're just sort of happy when somebody gives us a donation of some kind, but we don't really seek it and ask for it until we have started because the demand's so high.
being able to operate though without having to incur a lot of continual debt, I guess.
We've had some nice seed money from generous donors, but believe me, working on a shoestring budget and someone who really watches the budget, I mean, we could do so much more if we had the funds.
I'm thinking trading cards cost and making
Crazy.
Do the owners buy the vests or they supply their supplies?
The investment the owners make is they pay for the training. So we feel like by paying for the training, they're more invested. So we ask them to pay for it. Now they can have a donor pay for it. That money just has to be in the foundation account by the time training starts. So we pay for everything else. And so in addition to running the program, we are actually fundraising when we can as well. But the interesting thing is a lot of our donors, I think, come from students, parents that we've impacted. So, and I would say the majority are not even OSU alumni.
I think you're right.
And I think when the foundation runs our reports, they can't figure out what we're doing because the majority of our gifts and support come from
off
students'
campus,
parents.
and I will say out of state. I wanted to say something about, and I don't have it anymore, but there was a nun in California. There's someone in Maine. And and every time I write a thank you note, I want to say, how do you know about this? We don't even know how people know about this. So, anyway, it's growing.
It's growing, yes.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit, or at least for now.
For now. Yeah.
So, has there been a location where it's been centered around from the get-go, or?
No, we operated out of the trunks of our cars.
For real. And my cell phone number.
Yeah. And so, how did this happen? It was after COVID.
Right. When you guys retired, we were able to get a space in the student union where we could really run the program. It's the administrative hub of the program. But we've outgrown it. I mean, we have students in all the time.
It's a closet, actually.
It's pretty much a closet.
But it is a physical location. It's in the student union, which speaks volumes. We have our own phone number. We have an office address. And it gives validity to the fact that we do exist here for the university. We also are on almost every campus tour because we're a very visible site.
So we're able to touch students before they even decide to come here. And a lot of times those parents or the students will pop in as they're moving from in front of our center to the next location. And so we're able to say hello, tell them a little bit about what we do, and they know about us before they even decide if they're coming to campus.
Are there different dogs in there on different days, or is it always mostly yours in the office?
It's mine. We don't offer pet therapy out of there. It's a very small space, and really our mission is to serve campus, right? We are to be going out and serving our population. So I bring my dog usually one day a week. I kind of alternate between the two. And when I'm there, I just know I'm not going to get a single thing done. I work really early before, and I usually work late after because it's really fun. People pop in and they say, "Oh, I needed this today," and I text people sometimes and say, "Okay, Charlie's going to be in the office," and sometimes they're at my office before I am, and so it makes you feel good, to be honest. I mean, it's such a simple thing that we can do and that we can provide that appears to be so impactful and so meaningful to so many people.
Are there particular events that the owners want to get to sign up really quick before they
Yes.
get taken?
Yes, there's some real popular ones. And people who follow the dogs, and they want to go where the dogs are. So when we do sign up, it's on social media, and people go, "Oh, Charlie's going to be in the student union. I'm going." They follow the dogs.
So we post the schedule Monday mornings, and so the dates, the locations, and the dogs that are signed up, people know where they are. A lot of them are just hunting for a trading card sometimes.
Of course.
Right.
And then some of them say, "Well, can I have one for my mom and my roommate?" And they want 3 or 4.
Right.
And then the next thing we know, they're selling the trading cards.
They are.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a business, I guess.
It's unexplainable, I think, but there are visits that are definitely more popular than others. So the library, we have Mutt Day Monday, Yappy Hour on Tuesday evenings, and then Wagon Wednesdays. And last semester, actually last year, fall of 2022 and spring of 2023, we were seeing about 160 students per hour, which is a lot at the library. I mean, that's really, we're just fast and furious, which again is another reason we have the Rough Riders. They can help a little bit with crowd control. They can help pass out the cards. We have some students who stay for the entire hour. So there's a mixture.
I think I've seen it where there's two in the lobby of the library at one time. Not always, but occasionally.
We schedule a slot for 2 teams, and sometimes we're able to fill both of those, and sometimes we're not. So one team will go. But those are fast and furious visits. They really are.
Yeah, 160 an hour.
It's a lot.
It's crazy.
A lot of foot and hoof traffic.
It is.
Well, and then you also have the traffic coming and going, because anytime you have a dog on campus, people are coming from across campus to see. So you have to block in some extra time to get to your destination, starting from when you park your car.
It's true.
It is wonderful. It is wonderful. It's just an hour visit turns into an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So as soon as they step foot on campus, they have to put on their gear.
If they're working.
If they're on a visit. Yeah.
They're working. But early on, I think when we very first started the program, we did a presentation to the international students because we felt like that was a population that needed to understand. They didn't have to interact if they didn't want to. And I remember the day after that presentation, Charlie was there, and I parked at the School of Business, and I was trying to walk from the School of Business to Whitehurst. And it took me 45 minutes to get there. I mean, we've since developed some tools that will allow us to move a little more quickly, but it was crazy. These students from the international presentation were yelling his name and coming over and telling me their story, and that happens to every single one of us. But now I'm a little more seasoned where I can say, hey, we're headed over here. Why don't you walk with us? Right? So you kind of learn, because if not, you're going to get hung up and you're never going to make your visit. And then the students at the visit who are waiting are calling you and say, well, where are you? And we've got a group of students here and we're waiting for you to get to the library. So it's funny.
Yeah, I'd say Scruff gets a lot of attention anywhere, I guess.
He does.
Yeah, I think I read too. He's the 2022 Animal Hall of Fame. Oh,
Good for you.
Oh.
Yes, he is representing the program.
okay.
Yeah, and he was nonplussed. I mean, he just kind of took it as a grain of salt. Yes, he is in the Oklahoma Animal Hall of Fame. Thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, we didn't even know it existed. But a wonderful OSU alum, Lee Denny, made that happen. So thanks to her, we get a little extra recognition. I think that gets back to my point about getting the word out outside the campus, because I mean, although there are still people who aren't aware that it's happening on this campus, but the more we can get recognition in the state of Oklahoma or in the nation, the bigger and the better the program will become. So.
Did you have a PR person on your advisory board? No.
No.
Who came up with Shed Happens? The bumper sticker.
Well, we asked for forgiveness rather than permission on that one.
Well, actually, we did ask for permission, and we were told no, and we were like, we're doing it anyway. So
we looked at each other and said, should we ask? And I said, we don't need that. No, but I mean, it came up just in one of our sessions.
Yeah. We have one of those in our office.
Oh, good.
But I'm not sure where it is, but we do have one. I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, they're liver movers.
Oh, okay.
That's what they are.
Okay.
That's what she uses them for.
That's CPR though.
Right.
But you don't still give those out.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot. We have
I
a
do.
lot of stickers. And we hand those out at a lot of different events.
And I include them in thank you notes, depending on the person. I'm careful about thanking people with something like that. That's part of it.
know in the library the Great Pyrenees was there for Smooch and Pooch, and shit happened.
It did happen everywhere.
Yeah, Luke. That was Luke.
We should have that hand vacuum cleaners.
Or at least little fans so you can blow it off the tile and out
Yeah.
the door or something.
It was up on the second floor, so the carpet, we was laying on the carpet, so it took a little effort,
Oh.
yeah, but
Right.
it's gone now. You know.
Yeah.
I think the library may be another example. There's a floor on the library where there's an allergy, or for some reason we are not supposed to go on a particular floor in the library. So as long as we know that, you won't see a dog on that floor. So I think we try to be respectful for those who aren't comfortable for whatever reason.
And has anyone asked about cats?
Yes.
Yes, they have. And I will say, I, for one, am very much in favor of having therapy cats. Would love to. But again, I'm not the one implementing it.
Well,
So.
it's harder to get them to walk across campus with you too, I would imagine.
Well, I think there's just a special need. And have you been in stores where there have been cats on the counter, and cat lovers just gravitate to them. So there's a place for a cat in this program, but so far, it's the manpower trying to implement something that unique that we really haven't. We're busy establishing. We've had application from other animals too, but
Pigs.
pigs. Yeah, the application didn't come through, but the inquiry did.
So your parameter is dogs.
At this point,
Yes.
and again, just as we say, what we are doing today as far as identifying where the dogs are through social media, we have thoughts about what the future might hold and how that it may change. We haven't implemented anything else, but I mean, it might be fun to listen back to this tape, 10 years ago. Did they ever dream that, you could just think about a dog and a dog would appear, or however it's going to be in 10 years. So we don't know what the future holds, but this is what we're doing today with great dreams of other stuff in the future.
Well, 10 years, I mean, that's significant. That's a significant chunk of time. It's been successful. What do you think the magic is? Can you put your finger on what the magic is?
Joy. I just think everybody feels better. So it's an elixir. What do you think the magic is?
I don't know. I like dogs. I'm not a good one to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's, dogs are so unconditional, and it doesn't matter what kind of day you've had, or if you've lost your temper, or whatever. A dog is going to love you no matter what. And when a student comes in after a test and they think they've failed or they've not done well, if they will sit with one of these dogs for a little bit, they always say, I feel so much better now. There's no judgment. And so I think that's what dogs offer. And it's really simple, really. It's a very simple concept. But if you love animals, I think it just speaks to so many people.
It's kind of a connection to home,
Mhm.
too.
Very much. Yeah, and I think it goes along with the land grant mission. I think that we are caring for others, and we're just showing it in a different way that has not been done before.
It is. It's a touch of home, and we hear from students all the time, or at least I do. Like, I don't miss my parents, but I miss my dog. And so, like, okay, I get that. I can respect
won't tell
that.
them, but yeah.
So they just, and there's something unexpected about walking into a place of business or some place where you're not expecting an animal, and then seeing one, and it softens everything. And you really honestly have not lived until you've walked into a sorority with a dog, because the decibel level from the squeals are off the charts. And so it elicits that response in a lot of people.
Whether it's a big one or a little one.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. But, different dogs do speak to people differently. It may be a dog, a type of breed that somebody has always wanted. It may be a student who it reminds them of their dog. And so we have a lot of those conversations with students and then faculty and staff too.
Well, do you go unannounced or uninvited? I guess is a better word. Do you go uninvited, or do you have to be?
There is a process. If somebody would like to have a therapy dog, they go online and fill out a request.
Okay.
So we're not surprising anybody. We're trying to fulfill the requests that we're getting. And luckily, the word of mouth is that these visits are so worthwhile that, again, other people come up with ideas. For instance, the police department approached us several years ago and said, we would love to have a team follow us when we're just walking the beat, because a lot of times the policemen themselves don't have a friendly, students are thinking they're in trouble or something. But if a policeman is walking there with another handler and a dog, they are as approachable as we are. So it kind of softens the police department. Then they called as well because they're under a lot of stress, especially at football games. And so they were asking for teams to come while they do their debriefing. And so we have teams of dogs that go before a football game when they are being briefed over what to expect during that game. And then they'll go after the game, which is maybe 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, when they are unwinding from all that stress. So the dogs are part of the police department as well. Things you don't even think about.
No.
Yeah, we had a professor call and say, I'm giving a pop quiz. I need a dog, a therapy dog. And he had a therapy dog out in the hall. We had a professor call and said, I think it was creative writing, that my students are having writer's block. And I think if you just bring the therapy dog and they can be with the dog for a little while, then we'll go forward. Just things that they think of. We've got sample after sample of things we don't think of.
Have you written those down somewhere?
Many of them.
Yeah.
Many of them. Again,
books
we
in your
need an
future.
historian too.
Yeah. There's a lot to keep up with. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of things happen. Charlie and I did a visit that was similar to the creative writing, and we just sat on the floor with the students and talked, and then with about 15 minutes left in class, she said, okay, your assignment is to write about this experience from the dog's perspective. And that was kind of fun. I never got to see
Oh, that would be fun to see.
yeah, but she just loved the program, and so we had a really good conversation as the students were writing. But just a whole variety of things that dogs can do. There was a speech contest, and we attended the speech contest for students who were giving speeches for the first time, and so they had a room set up where we interacted with those students to help calm them down a little bit before they took the stage. So people are finding creative ways to use them as well, which is really refreshing to us.
Yeah. So we don't need to think of ways to go see people. We need to think of ways to get more people to go see other people. The demand is greater than the supply at this point.
But we do have plans to keep, dog treats in their drawer and the dogs know.
They know.
And so early on, campus life was a big spot for us that we would visit, and a couple of people there kept dog treats in their drawer, and he would not let me walk by without running in and getting his treat from Marie or Ruthie, and so that was kind of fun too, because it was just maybe 5 minutes, but it made that person's day. Hop in, they gave the dog a treat, and you're on to your next spot.
Well, they can only have so many a day, or they can't.
Yeah.
Do you get to control some of what that treat is? I mean,
Some people
Yeah.
ask, can your dog have this? And some people carry their own treats, say, if you want to, give one of my treats to my dog. But no, he'll eat anything. I mean, he's a stray, he's had worse, whatever somebody else might want to give him here. Now, as a matter of fact, this is another cute one, because all students have backpacks. And once we were in the library, just visiting up and down, students studying at different desks. And of course, he's always looking for food, so he's sniffing in the backpacks. And the student turned to me and said, "Is that a drug dog?" I said, "Maybe that's a good idea." So you just never know what's going to come out of the student's mouth.
so what is it? What is in their bag? Do they all get one?
Yes, that's part
So
of their
what's some of the things that are in there?
Is my bag here? Well, you probably. First of all, hold on. Can I shut
Shut
up?
off the flat again.
Yeah, we actually have many more of his calling cards. We have water. We have a water bottle. We have poopy bags.
Non-poopy bags, actually.
Unused
No, I
ones.
mean, they're
Unused
not
ones.
poopy bags yet, but.
Oh yeah, they're
Unused ones.
dispose. Yeah, to dispose of. Dog treats, as a matter of fact. A ball, because he loves to play ball. An extra leash in case he needs it. A very big lint roller, larger. But Kendria, these come equipped with water bottles and all kinds of. See, mine's so old, I don't have anything in it that it was given at the first.
So when a team graduates, we celebrate it Baccalaureate. And so that's really a fun, festive event. And the dogs and their human get to cross the stage and they receive all of their official gear at that point. We have a commencement speaker. Yes. They receive a diploma signed by Anne and our dog father, Pistol Pete. And so we recognize them as an official team. So along with that comes the backpack. And this is part of our branding process too, because we want people to know who we are and what we do. So they have the backpack, they have a shirt that identifies the human as being a pet therapy team, disposable bags, a water bottle. The dog has a university ID. We do the vest and the collar and the leash. Those are all very specifically branded. Everyone has a sign outside of their door that's a dry erase board, and at the bottom there's a little bone that is hanging, and on one side it says Ann and Scruff are in or Ann and Scruff are out. And it's designed for people to leave messages if they would like to do that if we're not there. So they get a wide variety of things, really to assist them as we are doing pet therapy visits. I usually carry a towel in mine. If it rains and you're trying to walk your dog across campus, that's really no fun. So you've got to be able to dry your dog off as much as you can. Water is important because they do work really hard and do get thirsty.
I have dry shampoo. Mm-hmm. So, but I was just thinking about what all was given in these, because they're pretty full.
They are full.
Yes.
They get vacation days.
Yeah, they do. Time and a half. Good behavior. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about 2018. Something important in 2018 happened.
Is that COVID? Is it?
The garden.
Oh, that's so sweet. The celebration garden. We're quick to call it a celebration because it's not a memorial garden. It's celebrating the fact. And funds were privately raised for this particular garden. And it is brass sculpture of a owner handler and a dog and a student on a bench. And if you see this garden itself, it's beautifully landscaped. It's positioned on campus so that if a student wants to have their picture taken with figures in the statue itself, the library is in the back. So we're here because of knowledge. And one of the things that happened was Kendria's husband, unbeknownst to Kendria, volunteered to have Kendria as one of the figures. So she is the owner handler in the statue itself. And it's a wonderful location. It's a quiet, shady location. And I seldom go by that I don't see students there studying.
So if she was the model for the handler, who was the dog?
The dog was one of the dogs in our first class. And the owner handler of that dog wanted to make sure that Sophie was part of that. Bella. Yeah, Bella. A little schnauzer.
Did you have to pose or did they?
Didn't get to.
She didn't get to. Okay.
It was one of those moments that the clay figure was done at the artist studio in Perkins.
No, in Perry.
In Perry. And so Kendria and I were going to just look at it and approve it. And walked in. Isn't this true? Brad was there. You didn't know?
I didn't know.
Yeah, and I think there was because it was all draped at the time. And so voila, the cover was taken off and Kendria just put on the best act. I mean, no Oscar is big enough for the act that Kendria put on. It was such a surprise. And I think what is so cool now that it's all said and done and it's there, it's very appropriate. It is very special. And I think Brad had that long term, this is what it's all about. Because students love to go visit with their dogs and have their picture taken with Kendria.
Well, I think Kirk Jewell, who was the CEO of the foundation at the time, approached Brad about doing that.
Yeah.
And Kirk's dog Bella is the one that
It's the
is
other.
in the statue.
Yeah.
So, and he is the one that really raised all of the funds for the garden. But
And I think the student is designed after the artist's granddaughter, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah.
It all comes together.
I know. It's very special to us. As a matter of fact, we're going over there later on.
So the vet school was involved, the foundation was involved, human resources,
Mhm.
Residence
Counseling.
Legal.
office,
Mhm.
legal.
so lots of folks.
Yeah,
Residential life.
I think that we tried our best to involve the best people that would make it successful and ask the right questions. You know, have you all considered this? Have you considered that? So we did thoughtfully go about, we joke about our pilot program, but we did have a lot of thoughtful people involved in planning and making sure this was successful.
Try anything that didn't quite work. Unless y'all have no.
Well, I mean,
I'm
I
sure
think
we have, but
yeah.
we forget those things.
Okay.
No, it's not like I'm avoiding your question. I'm trying to think of what didn't work.
Well, I think we've been able to navigate the
Evaluate.
program based on lessons that we've learned. So, for example, the first class we kind of handpicked, and I think maybe the second class
Pretty
we
much.
did applications. But then we implemented the interview process because our thinking at the time was that it was really all about the dog.
Yeah.
But then we learned that, you know what, the human is just as important as the dog who we're serving this campus. So we've implemented those things. I don't think it would not work as well without the interview process and without the disposition evaluation and the physical exam.
I think you're exactly right. Your question was, have people dropped out? Not for a reason of being, to me, to my knowledge, nobody has been disappointed or thought they were misled. So I do think because it has been so well thought out from every step that there aren't any, I don't think there are any surprises. And privately, people might be more surprised than I realize, but
By now they shouldn't be, right?
Right.
right. And I think too that I'll say the campus population has driven it as much as we have. So it's the enthusiasm, it's the surveys that are done, and we get such high rankings on those surveys that I believe the momentum is coming from within the university population. That we're not out. We're just responding to the need at this point.
And I think one thing that kind of changed the trajectory of our program too was the homecoming parade tragedy in 2015. Is it?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, at that time the program was very young and very new. And then the tragedy happened and we just knew we could serve in some way. We didn't know what that looked like and we didn't know how, but we knew the difference that the dogs were making every single day. So at that time I reached out to Susie Burks, who was the director of counseling at the time, and she was actually on our board as well. We said, what can we do? Like, how can we serve? What is it that our campus needs? And so the first thing she did was she had several of us go to OSUPD the following day. And so we interacted with those officers who had been up all night seeing things they shouldn't have had to see. And so we served there. And then we were part of a meeting with university counseling and then community counselors and HR that following Monday morning. We were here early. And we had dogs available in the counseling area. We had brought in community counselors and we had campus counselors. So we were available in the waiting area as students were waiting to be seen. And we were also available. We had a team outside of university counseling services. And then we were also getting phone calls from counseling saying, this department needs a visit, that department needs a visit. We have a counselor going at 2. Do you have a team that can go with that counselor? And so I was kind of manning that area and pulling teams and sending those with counselors. And Ann went with several and served in that role. But I think it really changed everything.
Yeah. To realize there was a deeper meaning to some of the visits we could do. I believe we did a tragic, unexpected death after homecoming the spring before at a sorority house.
We did.
And I think that may have been our first, again, just an introduction to the fact that this isn't all just squeals and happiness. And I think that visit with the sorority house, they lost one of their members in a tragic spring break hit and run. It didn't have to happen, but it did. And just to watch these dogs interact with sadness, true sadness, made us realize that there was a lot more to this program. And then during that tragedy, Burns and I were going to various hospitals and visiting people, so I wasn't really aware of what was going on at that time, except then when Scruff and I did go visit the departments. So, yeah.
Tough times for everyone.
Yeah. But I think then that really showed people what the dogs were capable of doing. So we have worked very closely with counseling. And so when something happens on campus, when an employee is lost unexpectedly or a student, sometimes we're the very first call from that department before counseling is called or before HR is called. They're calling and they're saying, we need the dogs here. So we serve in that role. We go in with counseling for the first time because, as Ann mentioned before, we are not trained to be counselors. The dogs know exactly what to do when they go in. But we go in with counseling and we've done those visits together. And then we, as a program, go back and touch those offices as often as we can. Just stop in, say hello. If you're walking from point A to point B, they just need a little extra. So I think that really changed the trajectory. And the following fall, the fall of 2016, for the first time ever, a group was awarded the Loyal and True Award, and that was the program.
So lots of recognition.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something about the important thing that having the dogs here on campus every day. For instance, after the tragedy, we didn't just go visit a department once. We went, different dogs went, they kept a bulletin board of the various dogs who had been there. So it's a continuity because I think, again, what happens in a department is that becomes a family. And so they lose a family member and different people react at different times. So somebody may be sad the first day, somebody's in denial, but they're sad the second day. And I think we have realized that you don't just give it a brush over, you give it longevity. And I think that's part of the beauty of having the availability of being able to be there more than once.
I would imagine that certain teams are a little bit better at that than others.
For sure, for sure.
And they should know that themselves, whether to sign up for it or not.
Well, we handpick those teams. So we know who's really good and what dogs are really good. So we don't put a call out for dogs. And when those things happen, it's very quick. I may get a call at 9 a.m. and they're meeting with counseling at 1. And so we drop everything that we're doing and we reach out to those teams and we get the appropriate teams there. So we do know who's better at that than others. Some people can't walk into that. Some people just can't do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're very respectful of that, but that's not everyone's strength because it is heavy and it's sad and there is a lot of grief.
How do you come to evaluate to decide who is or isn't?
It's got to be just innate. I think you feel it in other people.
Then how do you take care of yourself?
We got
some of that.
Continuing education.
Yeah, some of us are really terrible at that. Like some of us are really terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do stress that because sometimes it is really heavy work and it is draining and it's exhausting. And there are so many people that need so many things, and we're trying to make all of that happen. So
you turn to Charlie.
Right. Yeah. But, I will say, honestly, even the dogs, when they go through a visit like that, that week of homecoming, I took Charlie Monday, I took Charlie Tuesday, and these were all day long. And I took him Wednesday, and Thursday morning, I got his collar and his leash, and he looked at me, and he walked right back into his kennel. He couldn't do it another day. So I said, I got it. It's hard for me too. You get to stay home, and I'll go do what I can do. So they do absorb everything. And, for example, I don't know if you want to talk about Steve Spradling and the visit you did with his group and Scruff going to the person.
It has happened several times, but to get a call to go on a visit such as that, and afterwards hear from that department head, I don't know how your dog knew it, but he went immediately to the person that I used, the person who needed you the most. And the dog just walked in the room and did it. And I just had him on a leash and went wherever he went. So it's eerie that he realized how much they sense. Yeah, it happens several different times. Yeah.
And even a normal visit is exhausting. When I get home with him today, he will separate himself from the rest of the family and he'll decompress. Kind of like, when you've had kind of a day at the office and you go home, you're like, I just need a moment.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing. He'll go in and he'll lay in a certain area and he'll decompress until it's time to have dinner, and then he's right at his food bowl.
Yeah.
But they do. They have to have that decompression time because they're feeling everything: stress, sadness, grief. They feel it all.
Some of this I know you learn as you go, but do you do any extra reading or follow any research or something to go along with this?
Personally, I don't, but it's not that I avoid it. It's just that I'm busy doing other things. But I do think our continuing education classes touch on a lot of this, and you observe and absorb what you need at the time.
Is research a component of all of this? We'll talk a little bit about that aspect.
So research has
it's
been on our radar for a long time, but for whatever reason, we weren't able to really establish a particular research study or really provide any validity to what we do, which is important. And proving the impact of emotional health is difficult. So we just recently, the last couple of weeks, have launched a research study with IRB approval, and one of our owner handlers is leading that effort. She's faculty in sociology. And so they're conducting interviews of people who have been impacted by the program, as long as they're 18 and older. And through those interviews, we'll be able to gather some more concrete research studies as to how the program has impacted our campus. And we think that's really vital to what we're doing and to prove, not necessarily to everybody, but really to the university, our value, because we see every day the impact the dogs have on recruitment, retention, employee satisfaction. We know that that is occurring, and so we're excited to show academically that it is actually happening, and this program is really valuable and really translates to additional dollars back to the university.
So that should be very helpful in 6 months or a year.
For sure.
For sure.
From the beginning, was there a research aspect or
There was a desire, there was a research component, but we didn't get the results that we wanted.
And the thing is, we are all volunteers. So, I mean, at the time, my main job was being her assistant, and this was a side piece of that, right?
Yeah.
So everybody that we assembled on our advisory board and participates in the program, they're all volunteering their time. So it does get to be difficult sometimes to manage all of those things that need to be done. We had a research committee early on that just couldn't get there.
It just was hard to get. Again, you can come up with great ideas, but implementing them takes the time, and these are employees that maybe don't have the spare time. So, we've had other surveys, and we've had other. We just had a survey that we completed this fall. That we surveyed the owner handlers, we surveyed rough riders. We had 3 categories
And students.
Yeah. So we got results, beginning results from that. So we're building on that.
well, being self-funded? I guess you don't have to give your bottom line to someone at the end of the year besides, I guess,
Each other.
each other.
Yeah, but we always appreciate being recognized.
Right.
I mean, that what we're doing, we're having a wonderful time. We do it, I guess, whether or not we get recognition, but sometimes it makes you feel better to know that others appreciate what you're doing. So, and because we don't fall in any particular category on campus, we're not on anybody's budget line, we're not, we're just serving the entire campus, but there's no real structure outside within our own structure. So it's kind of hard, oh, you women just take your dogs and have the best time, So we know the value of what we bring, but I don't think others realize.
Yeah.
Well, it's not all women either, though, is it? You've got a few.
No, we have a lot of men.
Yeah.
We have a lot of husbands and wives. And it's kind of interesting. You'll have 2 people go through the training at the same time.
2 different dogs or 1 dog?
Well, you have combinations. We have people who are 2 people, 2 dogs, and then they always make a visit, 1 team of 1. It's just an unusual combination of how it all works out. But I love saying we have deans and their wives. And, when you have a therapy dog in the dean's office, that speaks volumes for that whole college. And they use the dogs in such interesting ways. So,
I've seen one of those signs you talked about outside the president's office.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone's in that.
Yeah. So we had a dog graduate in the newest class of dogs, class 10, Rue Runner, who is in the president's office. So
Don't buy in from the top.
Yeah.
I mean, you had it before too. But
Right. But still, it speaks volumes. And again, I know from being there with this one, people will come in the president's office and they just are taken aback by the fact that there's your dog roaming around the president's office. But again, it breaks down barriers, and everybody's just in a better mood.
Well, changing the subject a little bit, at what time did you become full-time devoted to this?
when the Hargises retired.
Okay.
So when they retired, so 2021.
Yep.
July 1 of 2021. So I became the director of the center, and then we were able to name the center after Anne. So it is the Ann Hargis OSU Center for Pet Therapy. And I don't know how I did it all before because there is a lot. It is really, really huge. And I think people really have no idea the coordination and the, all of the things that go into it, from selecting the classes to providing the applications. And we do have a scholarship application because we want everyone to be able to afford the training. So just everything from fundraising to administration to coordinating the Rough Riders to marketing to managing the social media to it's big. And I don't know exactly. So
Scheduling the visits. Does it make your head spin?
And it sounds like more than 40 hours a week.
Much.
Always. From the beginning, it was always more than 40 hours a week, I think. Yeah. But we do have somebody that is a part-time temporary employee that all she does is schedule the visits and answer email. And she helps coordinate the training. And I could use her another 20 hours a week, to be honest, because we've gotten that big. And there, because of the legal aspect, it's important for us that we are following all of those standards and guidelines, and it's monitoring those and making sure we're all on point. And then when a new campus comes on board, we worked with OSU Tulsa, OSU Center for Health Sciences. We have 2 dogs in Tahlequah now, and we're finishing up training in Oklahoma City. And those 2 teams will be ready to go in, I think, September of 2023.
So that's assuming everything runs smoothly. But the minute you get 112-degree weather and you've got 6 visits outside, you've got to revamp.
Right.
You can't stand outside.
Right.
And so it's just the exceptions to the rules. It's someone who calls and said, I lost my leash. Can I have another leash? You're just taking care of a lot of plates. You've got a lot of full plates that you're juggling.
So how early do you get here?
Well, how early do you get up? Another question.
Well, so honestly, we are early birds by nature. So we would start working by 5 a.m. usually every morning. And part of that was she had a full schedule. And so we would get all of our stuff done so she could get on with her day, and then I was taking care of the things I needed to take care of. And that's just kind of rolled over into the pet therapy program too. I guess I'm used to that. So with all of the 10-year celebration stuff, that's a little earlier now. And I just go as long as I can.
Because the 10-year celebration itself is a full-time job. That alone is a full-time job. So, I try not to bother you before 5:30.
5 a.m. to 5 o'clock at night. That's not. You probably go longer than that.
Oh, longer than that.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. I think I went from 3:30 to 8 the other day. I did stop for a shower. I was working from home that day.
Those are long days.
But it's good to have uninterrupted time, because honestly, when I'm here, there's a constant flow, and it may be people coming in to see if there's a dog, or people who are interested in the program, or people who saw the mural. We have a graphic on the wall that is designed to be eye-catching and different, and so it's a constant turnover of people all day long when we're there. And we're only open from 10 to 2. So that's a good way to manage. So you can work early before, and then I do commute. It takes me about 45 minutes to get here.
Which is not exactly downtime.
But I use that time to return phone calls or, that I can't do when I'm here. But it's all good. It doesn't feel like a job most days. It's, to see the impact every day is really rewarding.
And after 10 years, you've got the drill down pretty much.
I do. And you
growing and changing, and the challenges are huge, and the dreams are big.
Right.
Yeah, and the personalities. I mean, you're working with so many persons. I mean, I think at one point Kendria said, if it were just the dogs.
It would be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But to add those humans in.
Well, over the last 10 years, is there one or two highlights or moments that really just stand out in your mind from doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have moments, but for me, it's more relationship based. I have met so many students and even faculty and staff that I probably would have never met or never encountered, and Charlie's allowed me to do that. So
It's amazing the link
It is.
that they have.
it is.
And to get to know people, what I have said that was an aha moment to me is Burns and I were on this campus for 5 years, and at that time, I thought I pretty well knew the people I knew, and I knew those who were shy and unapproachable, and I felt comfortable. I got a dog, and all of a sudden, people I thought I'd passed judgment on that they were too quiet or too aloof or too related to my dog in such a way, I thought, I really like you. I've known you for 5 years and I didn't know you. You know, you get to know people in a different way through your dogs. So it's a great way to meet people, but it's also a great way to get to know people.
And we have students that we
Love.
that we
Absolutely.
stay in contact with, and that were incredible success stories just because of this program. And we followed them their entire undergraduate career and saw their growth and
Saw them marry, have children.
Yeah. set to graduation with their family, and
Yeah.
so those things are rewarding. Students that say, I never would have stayed here had it not been for this program, because they found that touch of home, and it gave them confidence to then get involved in other things. Students who just didn't have
They
the
blossomed.
confidence to do
They
that.
absolutely blossomed through this program. This little guy doesn't like us to beat. And as a therapy dog, he usually would be accompanying Burns at major events where Pistol Pete's there. So he starts barking. One of my experiences was I hired a Pistol Pete, the actual student, to work with Scruff. And Kevin would come over, and we slowly got Scruff accustomed to the hat, just the sack that the hat was in. He'd bark at it, he'd just go nuts. He would get comfortable with that. He loved Kevin as a person. He'd be okay if Kevin put on his spurs, his chaps, the vest, so we staged through all this, everything. And then he would put that hat on, and the game's over. So we worked for actually through 2 different Pistol Petes, and finally got him to the point where he would take treats from Pistol Pete with a hat on. But just to get to know the student who spent extra time, helping me with Scruff was just one of my highlights.
And I think one of the really wonderful things that I saw too was that when the Hargises were here, they were so student focused and student centered. And so by Anne having Scruff, any student at any time would approach her, and they weren't intimidated. And so she was really able to have meaningful conversations with students. And the other component of that is she was able to hear what they were saying, listen to what they were saying, and address concerns at a higher level of administration. So it really was
Everybody wins.
It was a
Everybody
really
wins.
wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful thing to watch that unfold.
Yeah. Special.
He is special.
Well, the whole thing is so special, and it was just so kind of serendipity that we weren't looking for something to do, because I think there are enough 2 minutes on what we were doing anyway, that to take this on and see the fact that it was so rewarding in so many ways, that it made it, I always hear that you do well things you enjoy doing. You do well. And I think because we enjoyed it so much, we made it even a better program than we thought it would be in the first place, or the whole reason for starting it. It just became better.
And I think a few years into the program, I said to her, I think this is going to be your legacy. And I don't think she believed me at the time.
Well, it was like you said, this is my dog. Remember that?
Well, he was your dog. You guys just didn't know he was your dog. So, and I think that's what has happened is like, this is the piece that she is leaving here that is so much of her.
So in the early going, we had a vet call. We were just thinking about starting this pilot program. And the vet called and said, oh, Ann, we have the perfect dog for your therapy program. I said, well, that's great, Seth. Thinking for somebody out there needs a dog. And then the next thing I knew, he was going through the training class. And of course, we're traveling, we're doing whatever we do. And all of a sudden, I'm slipping in the training class. I'm holding the leash and I'm training. But he goes away to somebody else. I still can't remember how that worked. Then I looked over at Christmas time. He was in the back seat of our car going with us home for Christmas. And I said, Burns, I think we have a dog. I mean, nobody else took him home for Christmas. And that was 10 years ago.
Right.
But
she called me with that news. I was like, really? We've known that for a long time.
I had no idea. But originally, Charlie was to be our dog. Charlie was a rescue that somebody left in your front
He
yard.
just showed up at my house. We live on Keystone Lake, and people tend to
Drive
dump their
that.
animals. Yeah.
And Kendria called and said, oh, I've got a dog for you. I said, oh, good. And I can't remember, but bring him over. And Burns and I played with him in the afternoon. Burns said, Ann, you can't have a dog. We're too busy. We're never here. It's not fair to the dog. No.
And he was pretty high. He was a hyper puppy. He had a lot of energy. I know, but you didn't know he was hyper until after he got his.
Oh, that's right. I hadn't thought about that. But so I said, Kendria, we can't keep this dog. So Kendria said with her kind heart, okay, I'll get a fourth dog. But it had not been for Charlie, I don't think Burns would have softened up to the fact that we could have a dog. So Charlie didn't make it, but Scruff did. And Burns is crazy about this dog. More so, I don't know, but more so than I, but he's more considerate of the dog than I. So, Ann, what are you going to do with Scruff today? I don't know. I'm playing golf. He said, well, what's Scruff going to do? I'll hire a babysitter.
Is he your dog or Burns' dog?
He's definitely my dog, but he's smart enough to be nice to Burns, too. And they're great pals. I mean, they play ball. Burns beats him a lot, which... No, I think he's both of our dogs, but he's definitely my dog.
And how much longer do you think he'll be in the program?
As long as he can. Yeah.
So you'll come to campus
I do.
frequently?
I do, yep. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Henry and I basically have it worked out that we try to have Thursdays as our physical day on campus. Not that we're not in contact with each other all the other times, but so he comes most every Thursday as well.
Are there rules for how he has to be transported?
He rides in the car with me.
Yeah, I know. Does he have to be buckled in or in a kennel, or can he just stretch out on the back
He
seat?
stretches out in the back seat. I'm sorry. He's his own boss.
He's buckled up.
Yeah, there he is. He's buckled up as he can.
I did not
be.
hear that.
Sorry. No. Rough.
Well, Charlie wears his seatbelt.
Scruff has a harness. I know he has a car harness.
And they're both about 10 or 12, 10 years old.
They're both strays, and I think he's about 12.
I think he is about 11. Okay. He showed up on April the 13th, which was also a Friday.
That was a good one. Of 2013.
13.
Of 13. Oh, yeah, that year.
Mm-hmm. Right, because then we started training that fall.
Wow. So Rossi came to campus December of 2012. And it was after that, we just said, let's do this ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it took almost a year to get it up in the pilot going.
Right.
Right.
The guidelines developed. We had to find a trainer. We had to find, there were a lot of components that we had to put together.
About how much is it to go through the training
Training?
part
It's
out of pocket for the person?
In today's money,
Yeah, today's money.
it's $350.
And just for
That's for the
Getting certified.
training. That's just for the training. And then there's a background check that you have to do with Alliance of Therapy Dogs, which is our national certifying organization. I think that's $20. And then there is a $20 fee to test for the Canine Good Citizen, which is a national obedience test. And then once you go through all of the testing components for Alliance of Therapy Dogs, I think that's $40 for the initial fee, and there's a processing fee, and then it's $30 annually after that. So there's a little bit of an investment.
do they pay for their physical exam of the dog?
They do pay. The vet school does the physical exam, but there is a fee for that, so they pay the vet school for that.
So it's a large investment.
$500 around that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But the return is so great. It really is.
Well, initially, did the vet school do the check for free or as part of the program, or something? They've always been paid?
At a different rate, I believe. I believe it's a different rate, but they do still pay.
And the vet school has been really, really good about bringing sponsors on board and providing wellness care. So for people who are in the program, we do get monthly preventatives provided to us, assuming that we see the program veterinarian at the vet school. We have 2 different dog food companies. One provides a free bag of dog food per quarter. One provides a deeply discounted rate on veterinarian prescription food. And so they've been really, really great about finding sponsors that will help us, take care of our people a little bit. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Do they chip our dogs?
Home Again does microchipping. We have ASPCA that will provide discounted pet insurance, not only for your dog as a program, but for any other dog or cat in your home.
We're cat people. We love cats.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you need someone that does the treats.
Yes.
Actually, we had treats for a while as a fundraiser, and that was a very fun project.
It was really fun.
Very fun. We had engineering students made the actual cookie cutters themselves. We had a nutritionist on campus who did the recipe for these healthy treats. And then we used a special needs adult company in Enid to physically bake and package the treats. And then we sold them. But again, COVID and all that, and it's hard to gear it back up again. So,
Well, then let's talk about COVID for a little bit. How did that change?
everything.
Yeah, it changed everything.
I'm assuming it did a lot. You could do people visit, so
Initially, we did virtual visits, and it was so cute because many students went home. And so we would have a screen of all students. I guess they were mainly students, may have been adults too, but like 25 boxes like Hollywood Squares. And most of them would have their own pets in their arms as they visited everybody else. So we did Scruff sat just like this in a chair. We did virtual visits for COVID. Then when school started the following fall, we had the 10-foot rule, and we had 2 or 3 locations because the university was using most all big spaces. But we had 3 or 4 or 5 different locations. And one of my favorite stories is students came and they were lined up 6 feet apart, but we could only see one student at a time with masks on. We had that 6-foot rule, but somehow we did the 2-foot, the dog and however that worked.
Yeah, well, we had to be masked, and you could only visit with a student for 5
5
minutes. So literally, a student would come up, and I would say, "I am so sorry, but I have to set my timer."
Yeah.
And so but we were still serving students. They were still coming to see us. But it
Well,
was
and my
hard.
favorite story there was in visiting with one student with all these other students lined up. Everybody hears what you're visiting. Hi, and what's your major? And where are you from? She said, Colorado. And I said, oh, great. Somebody, 3 or 4 people down said, I'm from Colorado. They were both brand new freshmen, homesick, and they were not from the same town, but they knew some of the same people through their 4-H circles or whatever it was. The 2 of them ended up walking out the door together, so they made new friends. And I'm not, I don't know, in visits now, people don't really, well, maybe they do still get to know each other that way while visiting therapy dogs, but it had its own special meaning as well. I mean, it served a purpose as well.
Yeah, it was hard. It was really hard, I thought. But virtual visits were actually well attended.
Very
And
well attended.
We quickly transitioned to those with the help of brand management, and that's a department that has really been fantastic and is a big supporter of the program. And they reached out and we made those visits happen. And
How many a week would you do, or how often would you do it?
Yeah, I want to say, because we closed down in March, and I think maybe we did 10 visits between March and May.
More than one a week.
Yeah.
Roughly.
And
then,
you were home, and I was
Yeah.
home. I mean, we were just,
Yeah. And then we also had the ability, if we had made connections with other students or students who, loved our dogs or whatever, we could do virtual visits with those students as well. And then, completely revamping all of our guidelines to get ready for the fall when there was so much uncertainty. And, still knowing that, it was so hard to get out, but we were needed more than ever. The stress was so high. And so we had a lot of grace with our owners and handlers and didn't expect them to work.
Mhm.
But if you're comfortable and if you're up to it, here are the new guidelines. And
we lost some teams.
we
during
did lose
that.
some
It
teams.
set us back a little. So,
Yeah. But the interesting thing is trying to find locations to serve our students was hard because, like Ann said, all of the large venues were taken. So we were literally in closets and like spare
Greenhouse.
workshops
yeah.
and just,
Yeah.
just, and we
Anywhere.
made it work. We just brought our blankets. The floor was dirty.
Well,
We
and the
brought our
students to be
blankets.
able to find us. I
Mhm.
mean, we were in real chaos. And this one student drove from Ponca City. Just drove in just to see a dog.
Yeah.
Little stories. Oh, so many stories.
But again, the need was great, and we are here to serve and make a difference.
Many of them offered a dog sit if you need them to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Matter of fact, I used several students. When we were here, I used several students.
They do. They love it because then they get to interact with the dog in their normal environment. We don't have all of the rules, and so
The leash could be a little longer.
yeah,
And
right.
chase a squirrel or two.
Yeah. Yeah, and he'd spend the night with other students.
Mhm.
And so it worked well.
Been a good 10 years, sounds like. A good full 10 years.
It has.
So what are some of the things you're planning for celebration? I've seen the pistol, I've seen the
T-shirts.
Eskimo Joe t-shirt.
Yes, yes. We should watch them. Yeah.
That's how we kind of kicked the year off. We did a co-branded T-shirt with Eskimo Joe's, and they told us not long ago it's in their top 10 sales every week. So
That's cool.
we did that.
Does some of that come back to the program?
They
Some
do.
of it.
They give a portion of those proceeds back, which is great for
Which is
us. I
great,
mean, we
yeah.
do a little social media, and they do a lot of marketing. And but we did an event for Eskimo Joe's while they were here on campus, and it impacted Stan Clark, and so they came to us with the idea and said, we want to do something, and what do you guys think about a shirt? We said, we're all in. So we launched that at the beginning of the year. We have the paw prizes collection card program, so we launched that.
We did the new cards. We did the 10-year anniversary cards for every team. Every dog has a new card. Right. That was a major. I mean, think about coordinating.
Photographer, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yes. Well, think about it. And working with dogs. I mean, they had them licking peanut butter and all kinds of stuff to get individual pictures. But again, scheduling all of this for 80 dogs, or I don't know how many sets of cards we did, but that was major just to get those cards. But
is there going to be a reunion of former?
There will be a reunion of Rough Riders are having their own special reunion.
And underhanded. There's everybody around. It's a homecoming.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I really don't know what to expect because we don't have contact information for a lot, but but we're planning that. And then, do you want to talk about Cowboys, Canines, and Cocktails?
Of course, we are having a wonderful, fun, dog-themed event on October 10th, which is the 10th month, the 10th day to celebrate our 10 years. That's how you remember when it is, at the McKnight Center. And it's just going to be all kinds of dog-geared cocktails, dog-geared treats for humans, games and events with dogs. So we'll have a lot of our therapy teams in different shifts. So there'll be a lot of exposure there. And Reed Drummond, the Pioneer Woman, who is a huge dog lover, is our honorary chairman. And we're very excited. Big. It's huge.
Yeah, it'll be big.
Where was
it? The McKnight Center, in the lobby of the McKnight Center. And we've got all kinds of things planned. We're in the throes of planning some of the themes of it, but it'll be big.
I think of Paw Patrol for the kids.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's designed to be interactive. It's not a sit down, for lack of a better term, boring formal dinner. It's really designed to engage with our teams. We'll have a lot of teams there. We'll open it up to anybody who wants to attend. We're working out that schedule right now, but it should be really a lot of fun. We're seeing a lot of excitement. We've been talking with donors the last couple of days and doing some visits, and there's a lot of excitement around it. So we're thrilled to be able to do it.
Positive.
Got it.
Exactly.
Some of those names you've come up with are really cute, like the Thursday, Tail Wagging Thursday. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Tail Thumping Thursday.
I think someone was saying they had, it was Trevor said that they have some that go to Gallagher.
They do.
And they need to come up with a good name for that.
Mm-hmm. We do. We need to be more creative.
Yeah.
So that we have teams in athletics. We now have 4 teams that serve athletics, and so
think of the stress our athletes go through too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rewarding.
Yeah. So we're there every week, and that's at the request really of the Student Athletic Council, and so we serve that group. And that's not a visit we publicize because that's really specific to our student athletes that are over there.
So it doesn't need a name then.
Oh, you're right. Well, for within their ranks, it could.
Yeah. I was thinking wolf around.
That's a good one. We could call that's what we could call our reunion because it's before walk around. So you come to wolf around and then go to walk around.
That's very cute.
That's the extent of my brain.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah. But we met with a student the other day. She's an art student and she's going to be developing a coloring book for us. So she's doing the illustration for a coloring book, and we're hopeful to end the year on that with the new coloring book. We did one before, and it was really popular. But it takes a lot of time, and so we'll hopefully get that done by the end of the year too.
Will it have like your two dogs in it? I mean,
Hopefully.
model after them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll have all of the dogs who are currently serving. It will have a page for each one of those dogs. And so I did ask her when we were meeting if she would be interested in doing the whole history. I mean, we've trained over 140 teams. And she kind of looked at me and I said, "Is that daunting?" And she said, "A little bit." And I said, "Okay, we can just go with
Current.
with current teams." So,
Do 10 years, she'll catch
right.
up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
You could start from now and let her do each one as you come play it forward type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, each class.
yeah, it's hard though. I mean, dogs too our teams do tend to change.
Yeah,
And
they're short lived. I mean, we're thrilled to have these guys. I think he's one of the longest living dogs Burns and I have ever owned. Our dogs don't live long. We just don't take care of them. I don't know. We always get strays. So, but I will say that we've always been dog and cat lovers. We've always had pets. But I wish I could go back and redo some of my pets from what I've learned from this program. The connection, the bonding that you have with your animal. I bonded with other animals, but not at this level. And I would love to go back and get to know some of the person. We've had some funny personalities, but I didn't know what I know now.
Like what?
Being sensitive to their needs. They were at my call. Yeah. No, you can come in. No, you can't come in. I don't want you in. It's not how you feel about it. It's how I feel about it. And now I kind of consider his feelings a lot too.
because it's relationship based. I mean, that's the whole thing and because when you work together, you really work as a team. And he's doing his job, and I'm doing my job, and
There's a communication that you have that I've never had with another dog.
right. That's part of the training process. There's a point in time when teams are going through training that the little light bulb comes on and they go, okay, I get that now. Because before they start training, it's very foreign to most of them. But there is a moment where it clicks and they understand that it's about a relationship.
It's not so much obedience as behavior in general then.
Yeah, obedience is important. There's no question about that. But it's really about being a team and working
Communication.
together.
I mean, he talks to me, I talk to him, but he communicates. Whereas I never allowed a dog to communicate, unless they were barking or doing something aggravating. Yeah, that was a communication.
I think he has your number.
I think he does too. So does Burns.
Charlie has yours too.
Right. And I fully admit that.
Yeah.
I have no pride. That is absolutely correct.
So what's next? 10 more years?
For sure.
20 more years?
10 more years.
At least 10?
And how will the world change in 10 years? And, what's ahead? So, it's
How
exciting.
many more campuses does OSU do you have to get to be on all of OSU's?
I think we
I think
are.
we're there
I
yet.
think we are. Yeah. We have a presence on every campus.
So then it needs to expand to the other Oklahoma schools.
Or extension. I mean, we've had discussions about expanding into the extension offices. That looks a little differently. That's not as easy to manage, but the potential is great, and I just see it continuing to grow. And I think part of the beauty was we had the support from the administration. At the same time, we were gaining support from the students. So it came from both the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
And I don't see that going away. I think the students are engaged, and we have parents that cry when we show up with our dogs at new student orientation because they just can't believe that OSU cares enough about their students to have this program. So I think the future is pretty bright orange.
Very. Very.
Do you get a lot of thank you cards, thank you notes from?
Pictures more than anything. Darling pictures. I mean, Kendria just sent me one this morning.
Yeah, there's just a lot of excitement around it. But yeah, we do, and we get thank yous from departments that we visit, and that's really nice too, that they take the time to.
We actually had a department who had a Christmas tree decorated in all of the trading cards. That was their Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of feedback, just unintentional. I mean, they're just like little pats on the back that people, I mean, it's not like we're getting billboards, recognition or anything,
Not yet.
but a lot of acknowledgement of people who do appreciate what we bring. So,
Do you each have a complete set of cards?
No, I don't.
I don't know.
Does the office have one?
Maybe, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
was
going to
gonna
say that
say,
out loud.
Maybe it's required. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we have them all digitally, but yeah, those I can't explain the trading cards.
The next thing they'll want signatures on them so they can sell them for more.
Yeah.
Actually, one did ask me for my signature. Yeah, just the other day.
And did you give it?
Yeah, I mean,
Why not?
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have said no.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the purpose was.
You could sign Scruff.
I should have. It was a little appropriate.
Actually, for our 10-year celebration, the Cowboys Canines and Cocktails, we were recognized at a football game when it was Big 12 Mental Health Week, and we couldn't take the dogs onto the field. They didn't have a place to put them, so we had our trading cards made big enough that people in the stands could see them. So we're going to have those dogs provide their autograph on those cards and auction those off.
That's a good
It's
idea.
fun.
It's
Yeah.
Your PR person or who came up with that's a really good idea.
a lot of clever thinking when it comes to people who love animals.
Well, I've covered what's online. Is there anything else? Oh, I wanted to ask about Coaches versus Cancer because do you go, do the dogs go for that?
So, okay, so in my spare time, I am part of the Eddie Sutton Foundation and I coordinate the Cowboys versus Cancer program. Our rules are such that we cannot participate in any other fundraising efforts because as a self-funded program, it dilutes our own fundraising initiative.
Makes sense.
But we have in the past had what we call a birthday bash where we bring kids in statewide. It's not a fundraiser, it's just simply a celebration where kids who have gone through treatment or are going through treatment come, and for 2 hours they play and have a great time with all of our student athletes. And the dogs do greet during that time.
I bet that's a sign up really quick for.
It is.
It's sweet.
It is.
It's precious.
The dogs have to like a lot of chaos though, because all the student athletes have different stations with different activities. So it is loud. We've got music going, and it's really a lot of fun. But I think some of our handlers have really been impacted by the children that have met.
Plenty of love to go around.
There
is.
is.
And for and licks. I don't guess they lick too much, so do they?
They're not supposed
to. He's a kisser. He's terrier, and so they're used to, using their mouths to do things, and he just likes to kiss a lot. Yeah.
All right. If anything else, you can speak now or forever.
Added at the end. No, I've loved our time together and the fact that we get to talk about this program and express how much it means to us. We just thank you for doing this because, again, it's going to be a keepsake for us.
Well, I usually end my interviews with asking, "How do you want to be remembered?" We can do it. How do you want Pete's Pet Posse to be remembered? Instead of individuals, if you like,
Yeah,
or
I love
both,
that.
all three.
I love that. Well, I hope it's always remembered by alumni as being my favorite thing about being at OSU. One of their favorite memories.
I mean, I think for me, I want P3 to be remembered as just a true service-oriented organization that gave back because it was the right thing to do, and that we lived by the Cowboy Code, and that we represented her in the manner that she deserves to be represented.
Unconditional.
All right,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. It's been great.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.